Oh, I'm also looking at the script.
Welcome to DT Faye. That was a terrible beginning for us.
It's not this hard, guys.
We're YouTube girlies now. You can't tell because we're still really bad at it.
We're still noob.
But this is DT Faye, and I'm Kate.
I'm Elle.
And if you're joining us for the first time, maybe even discovering us on YouTube, we're not usually this bad. Or I guess we are. We're usually this bad on YouTube. But
we're being real with ourselves, okay?
We're continuing our House of Flame and Shadow deep dive today with chapters 26 through 30. If you want to catch up on House of Earth and Blood and Sky and Breath, those are all on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We hadn't started using YouTube yet, but everything moving forward we'll have on YouTube. So subscribe.
How exciting.
Swipe up, subscribe. I don't know. Whatever it is influencers say.
However it works. Live your life. Also, follow us on Instagram and TikTok at DTFAE Podcast for clips and memes, and the DMs are always open.
Yeah, slide into our DMs. I love that.
Please do.
And that's how we found out a listener, and I'm going to say friend, because this is someone that I've talked to a lot and who sent in our book recommendation one week, Naomi. She is going to the Starfall Ball in London. And she sent me a picture of her dress, and it is so dreamy and gorgeous, and I'm jealous.
Oh,
I'm excited for her. And she said that she would send in like clips and videos and pictures.
Oh, so definitely. Please do.
Yeah.
That'll be so exciting. I can't wait for the Nashville Fantasy Ball. Also, didn't you want to talk about book club?
Yeah, it made me think, well, first of all, Fantasy Ball, I'm already so excited about, I mean, it's in 2025, but like, what are we going to wear? You know,
we have time to plan and we need it.
And I wanted to talk about doing a book club because I was thinking between House of Flame and Shadow, so many, and when we start Throne of Glass, so many of our book recommendations have been palette cleansers, and I almost feel like we need a palette cleanser.
Yeah, we've been on SJM for a while.
Yeah, and it's been like very deep and heavy, and like this book is 800 pages.
Well, I mean, you know, how time we make our book recommendations and we sit here and talk about it for like 10, 15 minutes anyway. Yeah. So we might as well have an episode. Like, we've got some other series we also really like.
Yeah, I was thinking that if we just did an episode per book for like a month, maybe I don't know how many weeks are in a month? 4?
Was that a real question? Are you new here?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
But if we just chose, like, went ahead and posted them so people had plenty of time to read them, even though they'll probably have already read them. But like, because what made me think about it was the book I'm recommending this week because I've been obsessed with it. Like, when did I start reading that?
That was literally like
Thursday?
2 days ago.
Yeah, hey, I'm done.
Maybe it's Friday.
I haven't slept. Like, it was one of those books, and I was like, I really want to talk about this more than just in the beginning.
Yeah.
So I was like, maybe Bride by Ali Hazelwood could be the first book.
I'm totally down.
And then we can just choose, because it's like recent. I see a lot of people talking about more recent books, and I'm like, I want to talk about recent books too.
I want to be relevant.
I want to be relevant.
What are you guys reading?
Yeah, exactly. So if you have recommendations or like ideas of what you would want us to talk about for that, like it, and not huge series where there's, 4 or 5 books and they're hundreds and hundreds of pages long, but just like fun little palette cleansers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I'm going to start one. We can discuss it after yours, but I'm about to start one that I think is a book talk favorite too.
Oh, really? Wait, what's it called? Go ahead.
Hold on. I keep saying
you have me on the edge of my seat.
It's One Dark Window.
It's I've seen that
series.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people post.
I have a list of books I'm like trying to go through, and so I added it to my list. I'm like, okay, I'll bump it up the scale.
Yeah,
it's by Rachel. I think her last name is Gillig.
Mm-hmm.
Apologize if I said it wrong, but that's my next one starting very soon.
No, I've seen. Are there 2? I think there's 2.
I think there's
right?
2. Yeah.
I've seen several people posting about that. Just like I chose Bride by Ali Hazelwood, and if you fuck with the paranormal romance genre and we fuck with it, you're going to love it. And if you grew up loving Twilight, and like we can admit that now, it's a safe space.
Also True Blood.
Yeah, and True Blood.
Vampire fantasy, please.
Yes, Vampire Diaries, all of that.
Oh,
like you're going to love it. It's an author you'll recognize if you're into book talk and Bookstagram. Okay. She wrote Love Theoretically and The Love Hypothesis, which was not for me because they were just people. No one was shifting into anything. No one had fangs. So I just can't really get into that because it actually was.
Can't really relate.
No, can't relate, but it's Star Wars fan fiction. It's like, what do they call it when it's Adam Driver's character
Yeah.
and Daisy, her character.
Yeah.
Like that, it's about them,
Oh.
but like very loosely. It's one of those fan fictions where
Well,
you're
like,
like,
if he
I
had
don't
lived.
understand.
I hear what you're saying.
But it's not, it's like more, I don't know. I'm not even talking about those books. I didn't even like those books, but it's by the same author.
Don't get me on a tangent. So
Yeah.
anyway.
It's a regular ass romance. But this, then her new one is paranormal romance, and it's her first paranormal romance. And the story follows Misery, and like, yeah, her name is
choice.
Misery. And it's mostly her POV, except for at the beginning of each chapter, there's like a little bit of his POV, and I don't understand why she didn't just make it dual. But I do like that we get a little peek into his head, because if we're comparing it to Twilight, it's like where we didn't know what Edward was thinking, and that he was actually so into her when he looked like he was disgusted by her. You know, that like where he's like in the chemistry class, like,
why do you smell so bad?
Exactly. We get like little peeks into his head. But Misery she's very sassy, very sarcastic. She's a vampire.
Oh.
Yeah, not vampire, vampire. But she's been living amongst the humans because there's this truce between the humans and vampires. And it kind of reminds me of...
Sounds like Fae.
It kind of reminds me of fairy tales where they like switch babies, but that's part of the truce, is where they switch children. So she's been living with the humans. She's basically a hostage.
Wow.
But she has to marry the alpha of the wares, because on top of the truce between the humans and the vampires, there's also a truce between the werewolves, but they call them wares,
right?
And the vampire. So because of that, she has to marry the alpha low, and there's a lot of politics, and it's an interesting world. There's kind of a Celine like lore dump.
Okay.
Like later on in the book that I was like, okay. But
a lot at once. Okay.
Yeah, but the hierarchy of the world I found really interesting. And Low is distant and cold in the beginning, and you'll guess his reasons why, like immediately if you're into this genre. But there is a little bit of a mystery, like House of Earth and Blood, that I enjoyed. And he has this whole like stay away from me, I'm not good for you vibe, which we've, read and seen a million times, but I read it in 2 days. It's also
I can't stay away.
It's surprisingly funny. Misery has this guard who is like so scared of vampires, and so she like kind of taunts him. And there's cute moments. There's spice. I wouldn't say it's not like some of our Kindle Unlimited reverse harem spice.
Don't judge me.
And it's slow burn, but it gets a little spicy, and there's forced proximity, enemies to lovers. It's all of our tropes, everything we love. And I really enjoyed it, and I would move it up on your TBR, and especially if it's going to be our first book club recommendation. And then there's also one I'm really interested. It's called A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle Jensen. It's what I'm going to read next, and it's the Bridge Kingdom author, and it's inspired by Norse mythology. So all of the things that we like. TBD on the spice level. Enough people haven't read it to where there's like really solid reviews yet.
Let me make a note for that one, because I don't know that book.
It has a really pretty cover. It's like it's like teal. Yeah, exactly. I love covers. But
honestly, if they don't look great, I'm like,
Well, a lot of the covers are starting to look alike, especially the bonds that tie.
All the different
that artist is like doing all of the covers these days. But yeah, I'm moving that one up, and I thought that might be another one of our, because it's the first of a series.
Okay.
So there's only one book out.
I started Bridge Kingdom, and I did enjoy it, but
there's no spice.
Well, there was also some big betrayal that I was like, wow, you really still did that. I don't know if I want to keep reading. And I'm sure it got better, but it kind of burned me out.
I liked Bridge Kingdom. It leaned a little more YA for me.
Is this one supposed to be YA, or is this like adult?
No, this is, I think she's trying to step it up a little bit.
Okay.
And I'm at an age where YA, it's juvenile. I mean, it's supposed to be, but like I started watching on Netflix, My Life with the Walter Boys.
That is literally in high school. Of course it's YA.
It's in high school. And I started watching it, and I felt like I should be on like a registry. I just felt gross watching it. And
I mean, like, YA can be really good sometimes if there's like really good world building, but it's the immaturity of the characters. And I'm like, yes, I'm in my 30s talking about these characters, so of course I'm annoyed. But some of it, like, I don't know, like some of it is stupid. I'm like, ugh, do we have to do this? Like, you can keep this story going without being childish.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't necessarily dislike it because sometimes it's a nice palate cleanser. It really depends on the series too.
Well, I liked Bride. I will let everyone know how I feel about the Danielle Jensen book.
Yeah,
it looks
Norse
really
mythology
good.
sounds like fun.
I know it, like handmaidens, like I don't know. I just, especially we got a little taste of Norse mythology in Sarah's writing. Like there's a little bit of just like inspiration.
I already forgot the name of my book. I was like, I'll let you guys know about that one. One Dark Window.
One Dark Window. Yeah. I'm excited about that one too.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Before we get into the book, I had an addition to something that we talked about last week after SJM and Margot Robbie were seen having coffee or whatever they were doing together, and like the internet went crazy. But I started thinking about if I wanted a show or movie, but I think more than anything, VR would be so amazing. Because I keep seeing posts and ads about virtual and augmented reality. But imagine like putting on a VR headset and you're in Prythian and you can like explore the courts and like walk around the library at the House of Wind, or
it would be so cool.
Be in the prison with like looking down at the cosmos, like you can look around. You could be walking around Crescent City and have like witches zooming over your head.
Yeah. Well, all these things you visualize for yourself and to really be able to like immerse in it would be so cool.
I know. Now I kind of want that more than a show or movie.
Yeah. Somebody should look into that.
Yeah. Have they done that with Harry Potter? I mean, I know they have the video game.
Yeah. Which
I don't know if you can like put on a headset for that.
No, it's on the screen. It's not like,
because that would be cool too, like walking around.
I mean, my brother and sister were both obsessed with that game. I mean, I think they both already beat it pretty quickly, but they really enjoyed it. So I
started thinking of where I'd want to go in. I would choose out of the 3 books, like even though I would say Throne of Glass is my favorite, I think the worlds I would want to see, it's Prythian.
Yeah.
Seeing all the different courts, because I always wanted to see the Moonstone Palace, like when Feyre first goes there and she describes like the bathtub that's basically an infinity pool.
But like looking out over a mountain range.
Looking over a mountain. But then I started thinking about if you're just in the bathtub and people are flying by.
Squeeze me.
You like have bleach on your mustache and you look out at Cassie and it's just hovering.
This is not the right time for this.
It's one of those things that it sounds really dreamy and romantic, but then I'm like, I do some things in the shower I don't want people to see.
I will let you know when the window's open for visitors. Okay?
Yeah.
It's hilarious, but yeah, now I'm like a little traumatized.
Well, so much of the Moon Palace is just open. So much of a lot of like Tarquin's place is like his place. His palace is like that too, where it's all open air, open space. And I'm like, there are things going on that nobody needs to see.
Everybody has really great senses, so they can see from really far away. So even if I'm on like the top floor, somebody a mile away can probably still be like, is she naked? What's happening? You're like,
there's not enough poopery in the world for face senses.
I mean, like, even if I just need to shave my legs, like, it's not a pretty angle.
Oh, when you do an everything shower and you have your head to toe in shaving cream and Az is floating by.
You don't need to know the process, okay?
Yeah, you don't need to see how the sausage is made.
Oh my god. It's like something gross about the sausage being involved. But yeah, so great, but also like have some follow-up questions for your everyday.
Yeah, logistically I have questions, but someone out there, please create VR. Because I would spend the money for a headset.
Yeah, well, we've already seen some really great artwork. If they could incorporate that into the VR, it'd be gorgeous.
I meant to make a list. Next week I'll make a list of like some of the artists I've started following on Instagram.
Yeah.
I share a lot of them to my story because there are just so many really talented, and it's these things that like I picture in my head and then I'm like, that's exactly what I was picturing.
Yeah. I'll say my version is like a stick figure compared to how great you guys make it look.
I know.
So I love seeing those.
Sometimes I need someone else to show me and I'm like, okay. Like the surreal is not what I was picturing.
Well, like once I get annoyed with a character and I forget they're supposed to be beautiful and then I see the artwork, I'm like, oh yeah. I'm a little bit less annoyed.
That's how I feel about when I see Cassian artwork, because I've been kind of like on a, not anti-Cassian.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, the more I read, I don't know. I think it's because lately I've been thinking about Rowan a lot, as you do.
Yeah, but
And
Cassian was never the problem.
I
It's
know,
Bryce.
but I'm comparing all mates to Rowan,
That's fair.
and like no one.
Considering they're supposed to be the same age, if not older than Rowan, and Rowan is more like
He's just
has his shit together.
Yeah, he's an adult.
Everybody else is all else.
Yeah, and he was on her side no matter what, you know.
Yeah.
I don't want to go off on a tangent. We'll get into the book.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it later.
Jumping back into chapter 26, we're with the frat pack who have just escaped the meat market,
which the triplets burn to the ground on their way out.
And Ithan is spiraling over his accidental decapitation of Sigrid.
So just like the night before the botched mission to Pangera, Ethan's about to throw a curveball, and he knows how to throw curveballs. That's
about all his skill set's good for. The pity parties he and Therion keep throwing are getting really old.
Well, the first 2 books, I said bless his heart so many times, I'm just out of bless his hearts.
I'm out of blessings.
I'm out of blessings. And I know he's upset about what happened, but it was an accident. He knows it was an accident. He's not a murderer, because in his head, he's like kinslayer. He's saying all these things to himself. But not only did you didn't murder her, but you also barely knew her.
Like, this is a part of the storyline that gets on my last nerve. And maybe it's because I'm partially type A, a lot type A. Okay, do I want to have to step up? No. But if somebody else is not going to take care of business, shut the fuck up and go take care of it.
Right.
And
Your friends need you.
Oh my God, she died, but she has to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You are still an alpha wolf, you weirdo.
Yeah.
Like, drives me nuts.
Is he an alpha? He says he's an alpha.
He's being a baby
but
about
he's being a fucking baby. There's like alpha, beta, baby.
Look, nobody's excited, but things got to get done. So, like, come on.
Ruhn has been there for Ithan when no one else was. He took him in to the frat house, and like he created his own little found family. And now Ruhn is strung up with one hand.
They don't know about one hand, but yeah.
Well, he's in a dungeon. It's not good. Whatever's happening.
But Ithan can't just abandon the wolves either. I get that part of it.
They abandoned him.
Well, that's just because what's her face sucks.
I don't know. I just feel like it's the same shit with Pangera. Like, he just the night before is like, never mind. You just cannot count. He's not accountable. He's not
really an important part of this anyway. So thanks for trying, Ithan.
Yeah, he's not an essential worker.
And barely a page in Midgard. Oop, we're back in Prythian, where Nesta has just stabbed Vespris with ataraxia.
After Bryce fell for the whole like keep her talking while she charges up, the whole time she was just working on getting to that storage of first light underneath her, and Bryce fell for it.
Bryce has no plan, so of course.
No plan, just vibes. Not even good vibes.
BT dubs. I need to plug in this computer.
Is it about to die?
Yes.
Can you plug it in over there? You figure that out. I'm gonna keep talking. Oh yeah, spoiler alert, we're in the same room.
Oh, it was just hanging out. I think we...
Oops. Oh, you know what? I unplugged that. Oops. Where did it go in? Is it plugged in? Oh, shit.
Yes.
Okay. Hey. So...
And we're back.
We're back.
Where are we?
Unlike the worm, Nesta's sword, Ataraxia, does not seem to work on the Asteri Daglin, at first at least, because she's full of first light, so anything that happens, she's going to heal.
Nesta starts to go for the trove, but is stopped by Az, who's thinking big picture.
Because you can't bring the dread trove to this bitch. It could potentially save their lives, but it's too big of a risk because you have no idea what's going to happen if she gets.
Yeah, she's already gaining power. Don't give her more.
But Az is like, thank God they have Az, honestly.
To an extent.
To an extent. Bryce does what she does best. She freezes like she does in every situation.
Okay, it takes some of us a minute to like process the situation. Okay.
But she gives herself a little pep talk. She's like, you know what? I'm that bitch who killed an archangel. I'm that bitch. I have the star sword. And now I have truth teller. Because she just...
Az is like, cool. That's great. Thank you.
I know. He looks down. He's like,
Cool.
wait.
I'll fight with something else. Bryce
My
not
hands.
only plunges both Truth Teller and the Star Sword into Vesperis' chest, but also throws her light into the sword.
And her shadows into Truth Teller.
Ooh, looks like she inherited the sister's shadows too.
Something that keeps coming up for me is it's been, I get like 15,000 years, right? That all that power has been in the prison and no one in that line has taken it. It's just been sitting there.
I mean, but I think there's so much like powerful creatures held within the prison. The prison itself is so powerful. I feel like they're distracted, but with the power, even if they felt the power, there's so much else there that I don't think they recognize. Like, there's something more hidden here.
Yeah,
because she had to like really think about like Celine's words to even process there was more.
You know who wouldn't have figured out? Farah, because it's kind of a riddle.
She can read now.
She can't read now.
But
I don't know. I'm still not really over the whole 2 800-page books build up, and then it's just a hologram, which that technology, magic, whatever, is not explained because we don't see holograms anywhere else. We've now had 5 books in ACOTAR, no holograms that I can remember. I mean, it's possible I'm forgetting something, but
no, because like in Throne of Glass, it's actually Elena that comes to
it is.
talk
It's
to her.
like,
It's like
it's
a ghost. It's not a hologram.
Yeah, a
Sorry,
ghost
please
would have made a little more sense, actually. But Bryce it's this huge lore dump, and then all of a sudden Bryce just has this power that I would argue she hasn't earned. Like, Aelin earned her power, her spot. Like, she went through so much, and I'm not saying Bryce hasn't been through anything.
I mean, to be fair, Aelin was gifted the power too, is in her blood, but she had to work with it and work for it.
She had to like learn so much more about it. She suffered a lot. And I don't know, I just don't feel like Bryce has earned it or deserves it. She's just kind of, I don't know. Honestly, character is, I don't love her character in this book.
I don't think about it as like Bryce didn't deserve it. I think of it like that's what she should have always had, and the way that like the Fae were handled in Midgard after the first drop, especially, her power was missing something. Her power was like the shadow of what it should be.
Yeah.
So like it was. Now when she actually uses light, it means something. Not that she earned it, but like, I don't know. If I were her, it would seem like you should have felt a little bit empty, like something was missing all the time.
Yeah.
If this is what it's really supposed to be. Well, but yeah, she suddenly just has it. She didn't even have to like go through a trial to get it.
Exactly. And it's unfair to compare Bryce to Aelin, or even Crescent City to Throne of Glass, or Bryce to Pharaoh, who I would say has suffered more than Bryce has too. But it just seems like with those books, there was more build up in battles, in backstories, in breaking the world's like rules. Like when Fenris broke the bond, we could feel what he was feeling, like how he got to that point to where he was able to do it.
Yeah.
I understood it, so I could suspend belief. But I can suspend belief, but it has to be within the confines of that world of the book I'm reading.
Yeah.
And I don't feel that in House of Flame and Shadow, if that makes sense.
It's weird the way she's done it with other characters, because even Farah was tortured and suffered and died before she had any kind of power.
Exactly. I don't feel
like,
that with
Bryce. You left this for me. Thank you so
She
much.
literally just like gets to put her hands on the stone and like, oh.
And I mean, like, yes, we need it, but it's almost like it was too convenient.
It's all
There's so much
convenient.
more she could have done here with this part. And we talked about this before, but the way you just like kind of lore dump, you give the easiest answers for all the questions we've had.
Magic bean.
Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know.
And it's
hoping for a little more.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems a little different than the other books. All of the
lines.
Yeah, there was just so much more build up in the other books that I could understand, and there weren't any like surprise pop up moments where I was like, where did this come from? And that's how I feel about the magic bean and the hologram and all the power at the prison. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I think Sarah's the best in this genre. I mean, she is the best author in this genre, and we love her. We literally started a podcast about these books, but I've read some theories and ideas on Reddit that are better than how this book is being handled. Does that sound harsh? Because I love these books. I love these characters, but Fury, Sophie, Emil, even Siggy, there's so many dead ends. And obviously we haven't finished the book, and I'm trying not to get too far ahead. But I'm like 40% in, and I'm still
Yeah, like,
not
what
really
about all
feeling
these?
it.
Like, yeah, just like kind of like loose threads.
Yeah.
There is another book coming, so hopefully we hear more about them.
Yeah,
But
I'm getting naked.
what?
Sorry, my shirt fell.
I thought like the script pulled up. I'm like, what are you doing?
Sorry, it's
Did I
like
missed the show?
yeah, you did.
Dang it!
You'll have to pay.
Or just watched it on YouTube.
Yeah, really. YouTube. But yeah, I'm still enjoying the book, but there are a lot of storylines I don't care about and things that I do care about that are not being addressed that I don't know.
I mean, there's so much going on that like as I read through the book, I was like, okay, I have questions, but I'm distracted by all the other things. But when you go back over it like this, I'm like, yeah, I mean, that could have been really exciting to have like Thunderbirds, and then that's like she's already dead. Like,
Yeah.
what? Okay. Yeah. I support what you're saying.
If I could go back to the me that was reading House of Sky and Breath, where I was so confused in the prologue and be like, hey, bitch, it doesn't matter.
Stop worrying
Stop
so much
worrying about it, because I was furiously like highlighting things, taking notes, and being like, Thunderbird ? Sophie ?
Where's this going?
Emil not have power ? I don't know.
So
But that's just welcome. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. That was all. I hope it didn't seem like I was, being really negative, but.
Well, it's, again, we already said we love Sarah. We're not trying to pick her apart. We just, with all the theories we put out there and all the potentials and possibilities, feel like there are certain things that are just kind of dropped or never discussed, or she gives the easiest answer that you're like, oh, it's
missed potential. If she went on Reddit and she read, if you're wondering why I haven't been on Reddit, nobody cares. Nobody's wondering. But if you were, I'm trying to stay off of it until I finish the book. And I'm trying not to, like I said, get too far ahead of where I'm outlining the book. So if you're like, where did that bitch go? Because I used to comment on everything. I'm trying to stay away from Reddit, but
I've also been busy with work, but
yeah, that too.
I
have a life. Well, not actually.
Spoiler alert, there are some things still to come that like, they're not bad, but they're more of the like, oh, that's the answer. That's it. Okay.
Yeah. If she needed some ideas, if she needed some inspiration, I wish she had just, gone on Reddit. Listen to our podcast.
Available to like spit all some ideas.
Yeah. Sarah, call us.
Okay. So back to the story. The Asteri seems to be dying. Time slows like it did when Micah and Sandriel both died.
That made me wonder, or to try to think back, if when Maeve died, if time slowed, because we tried to connect the Daglin and the Balg. Do you remember?
I don't remember that being mentioned.
I don't either. But maybe Maeve's not dead. Maybe that's our clue.
Well, I mean, if she was all Balg, then I don't know what I'm trying to say, but maybe it just doesn't, it's not the same.
Yeah. I don't know.
Like maybe Vesperus is part Balg, not all Balg. I don't know.
There's got to be some connection with the spider in the
as we keep going, there's even more than like, these are like the same things. So it gives me more questions. But unfortunately, before we can find out if what Bryce is doing is actually working.
Which is the reason that she is in Prythian. She's trying to find out what kills the Asteri.
Az, unfamiliar with the whole time warping means they're dying thing, wraps his magic around Vesperus' neck.
Well, he wraps Vesperus's power around her neck. The Asteri made the Illyrian so she can absorb his blue light. But I started thinking, if she can absorb Illyrian's magic, can they not do that with Angel's magic back in Midgard? Because they created them too.
I mean, they gave them some of their powers, so you would think that the angels can't really fight them. Yeah.
Rigulus has to ask Hunt for his lightning, but if he created him, can he not just... Well, actually, I won't say Hunt's different. He's not like other angels. Yeah. But can he do that with other angels? I wonder.
I would imagine if it was like Pollux or one of the other angels, then yes, because they created...
He's so sexy.
You can't fight me with my own magic. That's silly. Sorry. Vesperus pulls the Star Sword and Truth Teller out, basically using Az's magic like a glove to protect herself.
And I feel like there are bigger implications by that revelation, and I can't put words to it, but it made me think about Illyrian's channeling First Light. Like, what is she wrapping around?
This is like a whole bigger conversation we started to have too, because is there actually First Light in Prythian? Because they're not doing the tithe anymore. What is the magic that Illyrians have? Because like they have this power that you can't...
This wild magic.
Yeah, but you can't see it unless they have something to siphon it. So what is it?
I don't know.
And also, whatever the siphons are that the Illyrians have, could the witches in Throne of Glass use it? Because they also have power you can't see, and they can be yielding, but like, if they had to siphon
if they had siphons, could they use those to? I don't know.
Could they actually have power outside of that to use?
And it also, like, if he doesn't have his siphons on, is Az basically like Hunt? Like he has his lightning?
Yeah, or if they don't have the siphons on, do they still have power crackling somewhere? Can they do something with it?
I don't know. And could she borrow some siphons, bring them to Midgard, put them on Hunt, and could he like really control and concentrate his power?
Yeah, so instead of it just being like lightning from the sky, he's shooting with fingers. I can do like finger guns. I don't know what's wrong with me. But like, could he?
I don't know. I have so many questions about the Illyrians now that I didn't really give a shit about them before because they were so like backwards.
Well, they're also like cousins of angels now. So if the Illyrians can do this stuff, could the angels be doing more, or like vice versa?
Where's Isaiah? I have so many questions.
Where's a question?
Speaking of angels.
Let's get this started.
When Vespers absorbs Az's magic, her hands are wreathed in lightning, which I think is interesting wording because we connect lightning with Hunt. So for her to use lightning several times, I'm like,
Well, when they talk about the Illyrians using their siphons, I can't remember now in the battles that were in ACOTAR, are we seeing blue and red light flashing? Like, is it coming out like bursts of power or like lightning?
I think it's just like light. Like it's light. What's the color of light? Gold? White?
What?
It's light.
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know if you can even see it. Like, I don't know if you even see.
I think we brought up some really valid questions.
I do too. Either we sound really stupid or we're so fucking smart.
So fucking deep. We're probably not. I'm sure it's been answered somewhere and somebody's gonna be like, you guys.
I really hope the next ACOTAR book is History of Illyrians.
Yeah, give us some more information.
Sex with Az. Those are the two things I want.
I want Az sex, and I want to hear. That sound like ass sex?
I'd like ass.
You know, Sarah should really branch out. But also,
has she ever had?
She never talked about butt stuff.
No,
Sarah, we know you're thinking it. If you're not going to give us group sex, at least give us butt stuff.
That's the least she can give us.
Like, what are we reading? But I also want to know about Az's shadows.
Yeah, like can he use them in sex?
Yeah, well, how come he has them, and what does it mean?
Exactly. Well, he's a shadow daddy, so like the other people have used. My favorite is.
I mean, are they corporeal? Can he do like?
I think so.
Make them more solid.
Like he could use them to like restrain you.
I know he can like hide in them, but yeah, tell us more.
I don't know. And they're
restrain you. Okay,
I heard that. That's where my mind goes.
Butt stuff is definitely coming in the next book.
I hope so. I have questions about butt stuff, but also an alias truth teller. How Az got truth teller, bigger picture. If he has any Starborn in him, I think would be interesting. Who his mommy issues?
Yeah,
him taking over the Dust Court, Nesta taking over the Dust Court, Elaine. I don't know, like what's gonna happen to the Dust Court. I just need sex scenes, but also all this other stuff.
I did see somebody have a theory about Nesta being High Queen. So, like, I just want to know where all these things are going. She has some very big power.
Well, it's a lot of, I don't know if it's symbolism is the right word, but she's a queen without a throne.
Yeah.
Her hair is always in a crown on her head. Like, there's just some of the wording I'm like,
yeah. I mean, but also the magic she has come directly from the cauldron, and it's so much more concentrated, and she can use the dread trove. There's so much more to it that I'm like, okay, is it time for a new beginning?
And I think that Nesta is at least one of Sarah's favorite characters. I think there's going to be
a lot to develop her. So yeah.
Well, she's talked about how she kind of was going through her own mental health journey when she was writing Nesta going through hers. So I think that she's connected more with her.
Yeah. But I appreciate the depth it gave us for Nesta.
And then Cassian can just be like the consort.
I don't know about some of Bryce's journey. I'm like, I feel like we could have a little more depth, but
it is lacking depth.
It is not the same.
Because we went through an entire book of Nesta learning about herself, her power, accepting who she is, and we haven't really had that with Bryce. So like even though Nesta is also extremely like sassy and has a smart mouth, we know a lot more of like what's going on in her head and like how she got there.
Yeah.
I don't have that.
Some of it Bryce may not have needed to make the same journey because she always knew she would have some power she already knew she was part Fae.
Mm-hmm.
She had a better home life. Like, there's some things that she may not have had to have the same journey,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know. Yeah. I was about to go on a tirade about some of the decisions she's currently making, and you're like, what?
Well, this decision that she's about to make of not killing Vespris right away.
Yeah, she hesitates to kill Vespris because her priority is still gathering info, but girl, this is life or death, and you're not in control.
And Vespris is pulling Truth Teller out. You don't have time. Like, she's like, okay, how am I going to amplify the blade's powers?
Oh, it's
Vespris is
too late.
literally pulling out the blade. Like, sorry.
Over it. Nesta steps up and uses Ataraxia to slice through Vespris' neck,
which causes her black blood to spray.
Okay, so Val questions again.
Exactly.
And of course, there's a lot of decapitation in this book.
A lot. And
Like,
it's,
whoa.
but it's not as graphic as Hunt ripping off Sandriel's head with his
Yeah.
hands. That's still the...
I mean, the biting through Ruhn's wrist is pretty graphic.
Yeah, that is graphic.
It's just an interesting...
Backseat. He has to live with that.
Hunt had to watch, so it's
That's
rough
true.
for all of us.
Nesta just keeps stabbing. She's not taking any chances in Vespris healing herself until time starts slowing again, and then it snaps back with, quote, the only Asteri left on this world, now dead.
So what is the key to killing an Asteri? I think I'm still confused.
I think that the blades being inside her weakened her to a point to where you could kill her.
I mean, I'm kind of giving a plot spoiler. Like, we do get some more information later, but initially we're reading this and you're like, okay, she's got both of these blades that are supposed to help take care of it, and she still requires a third blade to swipe her head off.
I don't know how much of that had to do with the first light that she was so full of, or I don't know.
There's a lot of questions in that.
A lot of questions, especially, like, even if she was the only Asteri left in that world, they're just assuming.
Yeah,
but there's all these pockets of power and
they talk
caves.
Those underground caves all around the world.
Like, I think that after Bryce is gone, Reese should probably have a little group that he sends into the tunnels and caves.
Yeah, please investigate.
Check them out
for your own safety.
And back in Midgard, the frat pack arrives at the dock where a small boat is waiting for them, just like Lydia said it would be.
Because unlike everyone else, Lydia's on top of her shit.
She has so much going on, and she still has the boat. Like, she's just carrying this book.
Lydia's been living in a life or death situation for so long.
Yeah, she's been
like,
fight
I
or
don't have
flight.
time to play with you guys. We're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Flynn, Deck, the Sprites, and Therion, who has the white stone they'll use to summon the Ocean Queen's depth charger, board. But Ithan pauses.
Just like the night before the Pangerian mission, Ithan has decided now is the best time for him to go on a side quest. He says he has to go back, and then he turns and he sprints away.
Sprints away from his pack. Who needs him?
Which he was probably more of a liability, like we've talked about, than an asset for this mission. But there's something about him just sprinting away while they're all standing there that's such an ick.
Well, I just...
Even if he's turned into a wolf and he's running away, I would be like,
it's not
Ithan.
clear, but as you're reading it, it makes it seem like it's because he's dealing with his shame over what just happened. At which point you're like, there's bigger things.
There's bigger picture. There's other people that need you.
You're literally going to save some of your friends. Like, really?
Also, in the car over there, could you not have explained, like, hey guys, I'm actually I'm gonna go on this side quest.
Yeah, something's
I'm
going
so
a different
sorry.
direction.
But he knows that I don't know. Ethan is.
I mean, we're gonna
really
get some answers, but it's just, yeah.
And they're all
so
just
weird.
standing there like, Ethan.
Okay, bye. The men are literally too stunned to speak. They just stare off as Ithan runs away.
And of course, Therion blames himself and he settles into his self-loathing as the boat pulls away.
Well, if there's not a shame spiral, then what are we doing?
Well, remember when Therion, he had Riz.
Who is that guy calling?
He was
Bryce
playful.
legs.
And maybe it was a mask, but put the mask back on because you're getting on my fucking nerves.
Yeah, put it back. Maybe not being in the water is giving him seasonal depression.
Is there elemental depression? Not being in your element is he?
Totes.
I mean, I know why he's depressed, but when we get the timeline pretty soon, I'm like, okay. He acts like he was living down there for a couple of years.
It's not been that long, but yeah, he is right on the water and he can't get in. So I understand it being a little bit sad, but geez.
Get over it.
Also, not having spicy scenes with any of these side characters like Therion, Ithan, or Flynn is just a waste.
It feels like Sarah
losing opportunities here.
It's a lot of potential. Take out some of the torture scenes in the dungeon or some of the hot girl walk in the tunnel and just like have them touch dicks. That's the only. That's the only way I
don't
would
have to tell anybody.
If you're cutting to Therion or Ithan, if they're not touching each other's dicks, I cannot tell you how much I do not care.
The sad boy thing is such an ick instead. Like, give him a little something back.
I know.
Come on. I don't mind all the POVs in this book, but we've discussed they're switching way too fast and too often as well.
Well, this is literally just Ithan sprints away and then it cuts back to Prythian. I'm like, Sarah, did we need to go back to Midgard for that?
Yeah, was that important enough?
And I know that she's setting up another book, like ACOTAR and Crescent City, but I don't care. There's not enough. I don't know if it's not high stakes enough.
That's why she keeps you like reading so much though, because it's like so much back to back. I'm like, I have to know what happens with one of these because none of it's completed.
It feels like a tandem read. Like we're doing a tandem read within the same book
without like finishing any of the storylines.
Mm-hmm.
And we're back in Prythian where Bryce is dead and Bryce is having a temper tantrum.
Another ick. Like we've said a million times, I understand Bryce's priority is finding a way to kill the Asteri so she can save her world, but she's attacking Nesta. Like she's really shitty in this moment to Nesta, but Nesta just saved her life. Like I know that she took away this opportunity, I guess, to learn a lot more about the Asteri and how to kill them, but you wouldn't have been able to kill an Asteri if you were dead.
Yeah, well, you also weren't killing it by yourself, so calm down. I mean, it's not like Nesta had a choice. She needed to get in there and help you. But also, I can understand that she's like, oh, shit, they're going to turn on me now. Yeah. There's some power. I made a bad choice. And like, yeah, I agree. You made a bad choice.
I've been fighting for my life online, like sticking up for Bryce, and she's making it even harder. And Bryce doesn't want to have to, like, if I'm choosing between Bryce and Nesta, like, Bryce is not going to like the answer.
Bryce almost set an Asteri loose on Prythian. And she almost, I mean, like, of course they're mad at you. How many people did you just put in danger with that?
Well, and it's something Thea would have done. Like, it's a Thea move. And she and Nesta bonded over, like, wow, this.
It was literally like 5 minutes ago. You're so ashamed of Thea. And then you're like, well, maybe me too. Yeah. It was, I understand the reasoning, but it was very, very, that's what I'm looking for.
It was stubborn. It was selfish. It was.
Yeah, but.
She's not thinking through. She's being a bitch.
No, I'm drawing a full blank. All of those things, yeah.
It's just an assassination of Bryce's character. Like,
you go from 5 minutes ago, she cares so much about all the people she's putting in danger to then just do something so
rash.
Yeah,
unthoughtful,
inconsiderate. Like not, but like it's so dangerous, and she doesn't care.
Risky.
Yeah, I can't find words. It's like.
But yeah,
30 minutes will come to me.
It's like, yeah, you'll be in the shower later and it'll come to you. It's like how Silver Flames was for Rhys for me. Like I started really disliking his character in that book. I'm starting to really dislike Bryce. And I hate that.
It's not helping.
Maybe the glass coffin ballet was a clue and Bryce is like asleep and it's like Sleeping Beauty and all of this is just some sort of weird fever dream.
Maybe it's like Aelin in the coffin.
Maybe Rhys went into Bryce's mind and all like has just fucked shit up.
And he really played big there, didn't he?
I'm trying to think of anything other than how it's playing out.
Yeah, it just, for her to suddenly switch her way of thinking when Vespris becomes an option is weird.
Yeah.
Not to stay on the same, like, path. Nesta calls Bryce on her shit and tells her to open the way out of the prison back up, but Bryce refuses. Az sees Bryce rallying her power and tells her, don't you dare. Oh, but she dare. She uses her leveled up power to draw a line in the stone at Az's feet. And I don't know if that was her just like practicing or discovering that she had that power, or if it's literally like a line in the sand of don't fucking cross this. It felt like a line in the sand to me when I was reading it. It's just like what Selene did when she carved the cosmos in the stone.
And it's just like Rigelus did when she was escaping the Eternal Palace. Yeah. Like she now has, but it makes me question, like, Nesta, remember Nesta asked Bryce at one point, is your power like the Asteris? Like you have a star in you and they have a star in them. And she was like, well, I've never thought about it, but I am thinking about it now. But now
your star does more than just show light. Mm-hmm. Interesting. She swears on Hunt's life that she won't tell the Asteri about anything she's learned in Prythian.
But Az, who tortures people for a living, he has concerns because he's like, yeah, a lot of people go into torture.
Everybody talks.
They would never tell.
Also, to be fair, she says this part about she won't tell Okay. Well, she says she won't tell the Asteri, but she says she won't tell anyone.
Mhm.
And as soon as she talks to Hunt again,
Oh,
spoiler alert,
and Ruhn.
she tells everything. You're like, what?
Yeah, she really does.
Anyway.
But I've told people I would never tell, and then I tell like you.
Well, like, because I won't tell.
Because there are people
but
that
still,
don't
you're
like
telling
it.
somebody, so you lied.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bryce sends her power into the crystal sarcophagus, crystal just like the gate that brought her to Prythian.
Az panics, not just because the threat that Bryce poses if she leaves and open this door to the Asteri, but also because she still has Truth Teller, and I mean that's his.
Yeah.
His eyes fill with panic, and he says please, but Bryce just shakes her head and like starts backing towards the hole. Like,
I mean, she's made a hole in their world. She's going back to the people that she has now told them want to come back and kill their world, and probably can. And she's got this sword.
And she's trapped them in the prison. Nice. She's fucked around with the walls. Like, after she leaves, how are they even getting out?
Well, there's so many, like, she was so laissez-faire with, like, opening the Asteri and letting her out that it's like, oh my God, should you be trusted with this power?
Oh, I wouldn't trust her after watching her throw that little fit.
You had no backup plans. You did not know what you were doing, and that could have gone really sideways.
Right.
Nesta says that Bryce is as much of a monster as they are, and Bryce agrees. Yeah. Saying, love will do that to you.
And I do get both sides. She's potentially opening a door the Asteri can use to access Prythian. She's putting herself in a position to get information tortured out of her. But she is also the only hope that Midgard has. Like, her priority is getting to her mate and brother and saving her world. So, like, she has to get back. She has to get back to Ciri.
And they would try to stop her.
Yeah, they would try to stop her. They would take her back, and it would become like a huge discussion and another meeting of like, what should we do? And it's like, she doesn't have time.
From their perspective, you know, you can't trust her. I only know so much about you, and I do get it. Everybody's trying to protect their world, but also, what right would you have to stop me from going back to save my world?
Yeah. So, imagine she goes back and Az tells Rhys about everything that she did.
And Rhys invades her.
He would never give her any sort of.
Why does Rhys have the right to decide if I can go back to save my world?
I'm not here to ask for permission.
So it's like, I don't know. It feels brutal because it feels like there's betrayals on both sides, but like, it's got to be done. I've got to go.
Take it back.
Syrinx needs a second breakfast.
Who knows if he's getting second or third breakfast?
Who's lost so much weight?
Where even is he?
I think he's with Fury and what's Juniper. I was gonna say the cloppy one. He's been forced to dance and he hates it.
Oh no, serious. She's a dance mom.
He's like, I don't wanna. Silver flames come for Bryce, but the gate shuts and she plunges into darkness.
First of all, Az saying please when he sees Bryce leaving with Truth Teller, it broke my heart, and it made me think that maybe his mother gave it to him because it's kind of like a sentimental, like, please don't take that.
I really hope we get more information about Az, because I don't think they've really discussed where he got Truth Teller.
And I hope that it's not like via hologram, or like he finds a book that's just like the history of Az. Like, I want it to be a mystery that's like revealed and it all makes sense.
I want it to be like really in depth and detailed, and I don't want it to be like, here's an explanation. Boom,
exactly.
Next plot line. Like, come on. Well, Az and Nesta also have to go explain what happened to Rhys, and he is not going to be happy.
No, I would not want to have that conversation with him. As critical as we are of Nesta and Az, or as critical as we are of Bryce, and Nesta and Az are also critical, I do think that they would have done the same thing. Like, if the roles were reversed and Az and Nesta were in Midgard and Bryce was like, don't you dare, they would have done the same thing to get back.
Sure.
So I'm sure on some level they understand that.
It's not personal, but they still have to worry about their world too.
Right. And there is a moment where I think Bryce has the thought, if Nesta was like pulling her punches, like when she sends her silver flames, could she actually have stopped her? And she didn't, because on some level she understands. And and people are pretty disappointed about how short-lived the Prythian adventure was for Bryce. But you have to remember, this isn't an ACOTAR book.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a crossover, but it was never like a Crescent City / ACOTAR book.
Well, they're not merging worlds.
Exactly.
So there's a lot going on. They have to go. This is more realistic if they're going to have to overlap in some way. Like, if they were to suddenly merge worlds and people from Prythian came over to Midgard, it wouldn't make sense. It would be too easy to.
Well, in the next ACOTAR book, you would have to read Crescent City.
Yeah.
And so many of the ACOTAR fans haven't read Crescent City, so it wouldn't really... I mean, I hope that they do now.
Well, we don't know the next ACOTAR book. There could still be some more crossover. You know, this could be setting the stage, but you have to set the stage. It can't just happen all at once.
Exactly.
We find ourselves back in the dungeon at the beginning of part 2, The Search, with Hunt and Baxian's wings rapidly growing back.
You know they're itchy.
Ugh.
And they have no idea why they're growing back, but they assume that it's like mental torture, like emotional. But they were injected with the first light after they passed out. So they're just kind of like, my back's itchy.
What is happening right now?
And that's not the only surprise. There is a cat in the dungeon.
Catitus?
Yes.
Hunt isn't falling for Rigellus pretending to be Adis again, but the demon prince proves it's him by recounting he and Bryce's first meeting outside the Oracle Temple.
A very sad-looking Adis tells Hunt that he is looking for Bryce.
For Adis.
Logistically, I wonder what he meant when he said he's looking for her. Like, is he in Prythian? Is he in other worlds? Like that cat-like presence that Nesta feels at the library?
Yeah.
Was that him and he has access and that's how he's looking? I just wonder, like, you're looking, how are you looking?
But how can he get to
Mystics?
another world?
I don't know.
Yeah, if they can even get into Midgard properly. I don't know.
Everything we've learned about Thea and Adis and everything that Hel did to try to help Midgard, it has me seeing Adis in a new light. Like, he lost his mate.
Yeah.
And everything we know about how, you know, devastating that is, it makes me feel a lot more for that character.
I mean, he's still trying to help. Even if he's a little late in telling Hunt not to give Rigellus his lightning, he's still trying.
I know. Hunt didn't exactly have a choice. It was either lightning or pick Baxian or Ruhn to die,
I mean,
which in the end didn't even matter because Rigellus is still planning on killing one of them.
Yeah, but maybe he bought them a day.
Yeah.
Maybe that was the difference.
Maybe.
It could have been immediate versus like, there's time.
Let's not forget that he chewed off his hand instead of speaking to Lydia, who could have told him, hey, hold on, I have a plan.
Anyway, Adis guesses Rigellus wants the lightning for the same reason that Sophie was hunted, to resurrect the dead. Did we know it could do that?
I don't think so. And it is very Frankenstein, like we've talked about. But does that mean in the first 2 books, Hunt could have been reviving people? Or are there other elements to it that he doesn't have and that's just one part?
Wow. Yeah, I don't know.
Think about who has died that he could have potentially brought back, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, and
but
how? So
it also makes you wonder why the River Queen was so obsessed with Sophie and then Emil. Like, what was she trying to do?
Well, yeah. Oh, does she have dead? She needs to... Who?
I don't know.
So many questions. And what happened to Sophie's body, which was last seen in the Depth Charger's morgue?
Do you think the Ocean Queen has it, or did it seem like Cormac took the body with him?
I think the Ocean Queen had it. I don't feel like she would have given it up.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or Cormac.
Cormac is kind of like Adis for me. Like, he's just a very sad character because I wonder if we're Cormac and Sophie mates. I mean, there's love and lust in these books outside of mates, but I just wondered.
Cormac was trying so hard to be better and be more, and after the more time he spent with Ruhn, I think he died too soon.
Well, it's so sad because, like, we've talked about, Ruhn had Bryce and he had his little frat pack growing up, but Cormac didn't have any of that, but he still somehow turned out to be a decent male.
Yeah, and he was slowly starting to be part of their pack.
Well, maybe when he blew up, he actually teleported somewhere. That's what I tell myself.
Okay. Hunt asks follow-up questions like, why now? And Adis is as cryptic as ever, saying, perhaps they, meaning the Asteri, have at last learned what your father bred you to be.
Adis tells him it's a tale for another time, and Hunt is so fucking over it.
He's like,
can you stop licking yourself and get me a key? Like, can you do something to actually help?
Well, I mean, if you're not going to help us, at least tell me. Like, good Lord. But you know what? Adis can't because his body isn't real.
Unlike when Bryce summoned him at her apartment, this seems more like astral projecting to me, which maybe that's how he was in the library, or he was watching Irene in Throne of Glass. Like, can Adis astral project, or
that would make more sense? Like, that's what the mystics are doing.
Mm-hmm. Is he capable of doing that? Like, I wonder if Hell has their own mystics.
Oh, I'm sure there's something.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have more questions. I hope they get answered. Adis tells him, try not to give any more of your lightning over.
He's like, I didn't want to. I mean,
like, get me out of here. I had
you
so many
also
options.
could have told me earlier, like, you're a little late.
Yeah, but he's like, don't give any more of your lightning so they don't have to face an army of zombies. And Hunt asks if Adis knows who Rigelus has chosen to kill.
In this, he actually answers because it's sweet baby Ruhn. I know.
Ruhn.
Hunt begins.
Ruhn Dannon.
Crown Prince.
Hunt
begins to tell Adis that if he does find Bryce, tell her not to come back, knowing she'll be devastated if Ruhn died while she's gone. And it's very selfless because for him, not only for him to get out, he needs Bryce, he thinks, but it would mean him existing without his mate, but he's still like, this world fucking sucks. If you see her, tell her not to come back. I just think it's very selfless.
I think it's a sweet thing to say, but it also annoys me because I'm like, okay, she needs to save the whole. Like,
right.
It's not just
about you. Or it's not just about her not being sad. She had like a
bigger
role.
Yeah, let her get through this. Unbeknownst to him, Bryce is already on her way back, but surprisingly, she doesn't drop in at the palace, her apartment, or even the frat house or meat market.
Instead, she lands in the Autumn King's office.
Which feels real weird.
Well, I know that Bryce is thinking big picture and long game, but she doesn't know how long her mate and brother have been in the dungeon. She doesn't even know if they're alive, and her first stop is her dad's house.
Some of this, though, I'm like, how did you end up there? I mean, obviously it gets explained, but it felt a little bit alien because I was like, oh, I didn't see that coming.
Well, with what we know about mates, I started thinking about if this were Rhys and Feyre or Rowan and Aelin, maybe even Nesta and Cassian, would they have been able to think outside of like mate panic and do something calculated versus immediately going to their mates? Like, I know that it reminded me of when Nesta gets dropped into the blood right and Cassian can't go get her because there's a law against it where they would both die, which I still have a problem with because I don't think that a law would have stopped Rhys. I think if they were like, there's a law, you can't go get Feyre, he would have been like, too fucking bad. And he would have done it anyway. I don't know. That whole thing with Cassian was weird to me.
I don't know. I think Rhys has been playing the long game for a long time, so I feel like he would have respected that.
I don't know. I think he would have gone and got her. What do you guys think?
Yeah,
do you
discussion.
think that Rhys would have gone? And I mean,
look, I know he gave us some ick and Silver Flames, but before that, he was pretty calculated. I think he would be upset, but I don't know if he would rush off.
Do you think Rowan would have? Well, Rowan would know that Aelin could handle herself.
Yeah.
I mean, Nesta was literally in a nightie.
Not great.
That's the worst part, I think, is like what I sleep in, just my giant old panties and giant old t-shirt. And I'm like,
see that? What is happening?
But I don't know. It made me think about whether or not Nesta is Cassian's first priority, because sometimes he puts his High Lord, and I understand why, he puts Rhys above her. And then I started thinking about, is Hunt Bryce's priority?
I don't know. I feel like there's mate rage and mate concern, but also like these are all pretty powerful people. Bryce, her power is literally light, like a flashlight.
Mm-hmm. It's very bright light.
Hunt doesn't know that there's anything behind it, so I can understand him panicking over her because even if she's trained to fight, she's not trained to really
know
fight
about
supernatural.
what she has now.
Yeah, but like Nesta, big power, bigger power than Cassian. So I feel like there's a moment where he's like, okay, she's okay. She's very independent.
Yeah, it is nice that he like trusts that he trained her, that she can take care of herself. But sometimes it feels like Rhys and Hunt, SJM like drew Rowan from memory. Like when she refers to them as mates, I'm like, are the mates in the room with us right now?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of like if you ordered Rowan from Wish or Temu, like you would get Rhys or Hunt. Sorry.
Well, are they all the same mate bond? Because the worlds are different. Magic is different in each of the worlds. Mm-hmm. So like, is the mate bond that Rowan and Aelin have as strong or stronger than the one that Rhys and Feyre have versus Hunt and Bryce?
Well, the problem is we just need to stop comparing people to Rowan because no one is ever.
That is so true.
Which is crazy when you think about it, because she started Throne of Glass writing it when she was 16, like developing those characters. But in some ways, like they're they have the most depth compared to the other series.
Yeah, well, I think that's probably in the very beginning when you're really getting started. Those are the people you have the most focus on.
Mm-hmm.
And then as her worlds grew, I mean, she's probably focusing on each character, but she has so many more characters now that maybe she's focusing on too many versus like honing in.
Well, it's
like,
kind
really
of like when
focusing.
a band has their debut album and it's their best because they have their entire lives to work on it. And then they're like, okay, your second one needs to come out. And it's never as good. It's kind of like that. Like, that's how Throne of Glass compared to the other series feels.
Yeah, well, I mean, the other series are still very good.
Obviously, we're
still
starting
very
a podcast
detailed.
about Crescent City, but
no, it's just because she had more time to invest initially in Throne of Glass. You can tell some of her initial, like, the way she was thinking, like the lines she was thinking along.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I don't want to seem like I'm negative about the other books, but I love Throne of Glass so much. I can't wait to cover it. It's going to be so fun. The Autumn King immediately takes the Star Sword and Truth Teller and he slaps Gorsian shackles onto Bryce's wrist.
Wow, Dad.
They aren't attached to chains, but they do keep her from reaching her starlight, which he doesn't know. It's very aggressive. Like she drops in from another world and he's immediately like, clink.
I mean, excuse me, Father. We've never been on this basis before. Bryce asks about Hunt and Ruhn, but her father ignores the question and starts asking his own.
You know, he is so jelly that Bryce got to go to this OG world of the Fae, but then she also comes back with the dagger from the prophecy.
Yeah.
And she's so like, yeah, what of it? Yeah, I stole it.
He's so jealous.
He's so
it
jealous.
should be me. Assuming that she landed in his office by accident, he takes his daughter hostage and sends away all of his guards and servants and threatens to tell the Asteri that she's there.
The Autumn King is obviously a piece of shit father, but I did think that he was an interesting character in the first two books. But like with some of the other characters, he's kind of become one-dimensional in Flame and Shadow.
Well,
like,
you really wanted him to have like a redemption arc.
Not even if it was not a redemption arc, but something. Like I thought there was something going on. He was so curious. He had all of his research. He recognized the numbers from the Asteri's archives, which kind of implied that he had an in.
Yes.
Or that he was setting up. I just felt like we were setting up something bigger for him. Something.
I mean, how did Ember ever love him? Maybe she fell for like the facade he put out there.
He is supposed to be beautiful. I'm just disappointed that we're not getting a bigger payoff. Like, I wonder if the next book is going to be like, you know how so much of the first two books were Danica bombshells?
Yeah.
I don't want the next book to be all Autumn King bombshells.
Yeah, imagine the next book is learning the Autumn King's secret side quests and Bryce spiraling like she did with Danica.
That would be, I do not want to read that.
Well, it's like I don't want to give spoilers for the rest of the book.
Okay, then don't.
But I want to. I'll try to keep it.
Is it a big deal? Like a big spoiler?
Some things happen.
Is it a flashback with the Autumn King? Okay.
Oh, okay.
Then we're back with Ithan.
Yeah, sorry. I was like, I'm totally. So, still sprinting away from his pack, Ithan has all of the audacity when he thinks Therion might be able to walk away from the consequences of his actions, but Ithan won't.
Therion is walking away to go save his friends, your friend Ruhn, who took you in when you had nowhere to go. He's not just like, I'm going to go grab a beer. Like, he's on a boat on the way to save.
Yeah, he's not like off to go like.
But Ethan's like, he might be able. Yeah, he might be able to get away with just walking away, but not me. And you're like,
I mean,
Ethan
down. Is somehow self-righteous while still being self-loathing, which is, it's a weird combo.
That's a weird combo.
Ugh.
He runs through the city to the Black Dock, but it's not the Bone Quarter that's his destination. It's a black building with a door covered in ancient markings that leads underground to the House of Flame and Shadow. And I love when in a movie or TV show they say the name and you're like, ooh. You're like that Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he's like pointing at the TV. That's it. So we're finally seeing the House of Flame and Shadow. And I'm assuming that the ancient markings are word marks, especially given the Underking's use of them against Hypaxia. Back in House of Sky and Breath, he like makes that little obstacle course.
Yeah, and they're also the markings on the monoliths in the Bone Quarter.
And we've speculated about the Underking's origins and his potential connections to Throne of Glass. And I know that that's probably something that comes up later in the book, so don't spoil it. But would he have come through with the Throne of Glass Fae? Like, if he knows word marks, when did he learn them? Did he come with Throne of Glass, or did the Fae that came through teach them to him? Right. We know that he has a connection.
I do know your actual answer, too.
Okay, well...
because it comes up.
Do I sound stupid?
No.
Okay. I'm smart.
Congratulations.
I sound smart.
You do sound smart. And this will be really important later.
Okay, excellent. But do we actually learn the origin of word marks? Because that's something that's very gray in Throne of Glass, where they came from.
Origin of word marks? No. Origin of Underking, yes.
Well, I mean, in Throne of Glass, I don't think it was ever fully explained where word marks came from. So my thinking is if we can prove where they came from, it can connect the Asteri and the Volg. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, now look, don't kill me. I've read at least 10 books since I finished this.
You think you're better than me?
No,
What a flex.
Look, some of them are like palate cleansing smut, but they've got like 5 books in a series. So I'm trying to like dial it back. I don't know that they really discuss the origin of word marks. Well, I could have forgotten something, but I don't want to like put it out there that it's coming and then it's not.
Well, I was just trying to think of like a backdoor confirmation between the Daglan Asteri, Volg, maybe even the Princes of Hell, but could be like if both of their worlds, it originated from there, then they're from the same world. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's not, I don't know if we could ever really, that would have to be something we would just infer. Because Throne of Glass is done. So like, I don't know if we could ever really.
Yeah, I really hope she draws more connections with Throne of Glass because there's a lot that is hinted at that comes up, but it's not quite answered either. Mm-hmm. And like you bring up more valid questions, and I'm like, I don't think she really gives enough answer on that. I hope so, but
Sarah, hit us up. Let us know about word marks.
Help us out, Sarah.
I'm like the aliens guy from that History Channel show where he's like aliens. I'm like word marks.
I mean, there's a lot of potential. I actually, as much as we were like annoyed by Ithan and the way he's going, I really like this like storyline and like where it goes because it's unexpected. And I was like, oh,
well, she had so glad. Pull that character back in somehow. Well, multiple characters back in. It's an interesting way to do it.
Well, she's going to continue to bring things back around, which is nice.
That's good.
So Bryce is still being held hostage by the Autumn King in chapter 30.
We learned that Bryce arrived back in Midgard at 3 p.m. on a Friday.
Very specific.
Very specific. At first, her father refuses to tell her the month or the year. So she's trying not to panic, thinking about like how long her mate and brother have been in the dungeons.
That's so cruel. He won't even tell her if they're still alive. Like, what a dick.
They agree to a I answer, you answer deal, which mostly feels like filler. Like because it could have been used for spice. Like take away
unless
this
they're really good
chapter.
questions.
Well, it's answers we know. Like they need to learn. He needs to learn what happened in Prythian. She needs to learn what happened in Midgard. But we, the reader, already know what happened in both worlds, so we don't need it to be recapped.
You don't want to read it again. Yeah, he asks about the home world of the Fae, and she asks about her brother and mate and the timeline, which was somehow only 5 days.
It's all info we already knew, so it's unnecessary. It's some things that I think are important are being glossed over or rushed through, but then we have to sit through shit like this.
I feel like they're trying to show the relationship that the two of them have. Like, it's more like to show the way they talk to each other and don't trust each other.
The timeline for me is very confusing because you're telling me we were in Prythian for 5 days. So Hunt, Ruhn, and Baxian have been in the dungeons for 5 days. We were 5 days ago, they were running out of the Eternal Palace. That's when she jumped into the gate. That's crazy.
But that also means everything in the meat market was 5 days.
Therion was only owned by the Viper Queen for 5 days. And I mean, that probably still sucked, but he's really dramatic about it. Yeah. It was just 5 days. And Throne of Glass all was like, what, a year? It's just, they're immortal, but SJM packs it all in such a short amount of time.
I mean, the last time when Hunt was held prisoner, was it 8 years?
9 years? He didn't see the sun for 9 or whatever.
5 days.
5 days.
Okay, it's not great, but like
it's very condensed.
Yeah, maybe Bryce is a bad judge of time, and a week to her is more like 10 days.
The math isn't mathing for me, especially
everything that's happened.
A lot comes up after this in an even shorter amount of time. Like if you throw in Aelin when she was falling through the worlds, and she sees Rhys and a pregnant Feyre, and when the Red Star is in Silver Flames. So if the timelines aren't fucked when you world walk, that means that Kingdom of Ash and Silver Flames are like roughly around the same time. And Nesta tells Bryce that she killed Lanthus 7 months ago. So we're less than a year from Silver Flames. So we're less than a year from Kingdom of Ash, which makes Lydia being a descendant of Aelin and Rowan based on the Ruby Ring, and something we'll learn about later. it makes that impossible. Like they could still be related, and there's a lot more hints to that we'll talk about when we get to that point in the book. But our theory of her coming from Rowan and Aelin doesn't make sense. It's more like they're just related.
Well, it's really, really weird because it's unclear when the Fae came from the Throne of Glass world to Midgard.
Well, it would have been at the same time, right? The 15,000 years ago?
15,000 years ago, back when the Fae down in Antica were the healers? Like, was that far back? When was Brannon?
I don't know.
How much? I forgot how far. Was he 10,000? No. That feels...
I didn't think it was that long ago.
Yeah, from Aelin.
Mm-hmm.
So...
I don't know.
Because
timeline doesn't.
Brannon was really the beginning of that bloodline.
But he would have had to have been... he never came over to Midgard.
No, but it would have had to have been...
descendants would have had to have.
Yeah, so we can't go that far back. So yeah, I don't know about the timeline either. I hope that's explained more because I have so many questions.
I have a lot of questions. And we thought Throne of Glass feels like the past. And so we've been working under the assumption that it is... Well, first we were working under the assumption that, Midgard, that was Throne of Glass. And it was just like way later. But now we know they just came through from another world.
I mean, we don't know for a fact that when Aelin fell through worlds, that it was all in the same time frame. She could have fell through future moments. I don't know how the space-time continuum works. Maybe, but I need that explained somehow. Otherwise, I can't. Math isn't mathing again.
Right. I guess we shouldn't assume that just because when Bryce world walks, it's 5 days is 5 days. Like Prythian and Midgard are on the same timeline. So I guess we shouldn't assume that all the worlds are.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, because you could world walk and you not know that it's 100 years ago. For this other world, I don't know. Well, I just need more. I need more of this to be answered.
And we know that time can be fucked with. Like Meryl has all that research.
Yeah.
And the harp with the strings that can move time and space. And we had so many theories and thoughts with like Parthos and the bone carver and the sin eater, and I don't know.
They could still be true. We just need somebody to explain how they're using the harp or whatever is being utilized. And I think I'm also a little bit bitter that Thea is not someone from Throne of Glass.
We thought that it was going to be like Mala. It was going to be some big connection. And that felt like another missed opportunity to be somebody.
Well, and I mean, maybe it will be, and it hasn't been revealed yet.
I guess
right
it
now,
could still be.
Yeah, we still have books to come, but she's drawn these connections between these characters. So, I feel like that meme of the woman who's got, math on the blackboard behind her head. How does that connect?
I know.
Hopefully it comes up in the next book because I need more of those questions answered.
Or we just overthought all of this.
I mean, no. If you're going to connect worlds, you need to make it make sense.
Connect the fucking worlds.
Make it make sense.
Oh, wait. No. What are you?
Bryce tells the Autumn King about Prythian?
Oh, I was back to the piece of shit dad. Who, like Pollock, Sarah made super hot and a good cook. Because of my daddy issues, that was an issue.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I just skipped right past it. I'm talking about Sarah, not thinking about this. Sorry. Totally, though. Yeah, piece of shit.
Piece of shit.
Sucks. Bryce tells the Autumn King about Prythian, how it was free of the Asteri, how the Fae are stronger without the drop, how no matter where you go, Fae are fucking assholes.
Except she's the asshole Fae in Nesta and Az's story.
Yeah. Multiple times. They saw through her, at least. I mean, but it's all about perspective, right?
Yeah, exactly. For someone who is so judgmental and harsh with the Fae, she really was acting very much like her father in that moment.
Yeah, that situation with Vesperus, people won't forget.
But her dad is just listening, ooh, this is the shit he's always
have more power. You don't say.
That's shit that he's been speculating this entire time with all of his little experiments.
Yeah. As far as Fae go, you could have done a lot worse than Nesta and Az.
Seriously. We've talked about Reese would have on the spot
killed her.
Day 1 or 2 in the tunnels, dead. Yeah. But I could see more LOLing at Bryce. Under just different circumstances, I could see them going to Rita's together.
Yeah, I feel like more really should have been in that story some. I could see her doing more.
If we could if Juniper would just die and then Fury and more.
Well, Juniper have literally brings nothing to anybody, not even the stage.
Exactly.
Over it.
I just hope we find out more about Moore and her power and what the fuck she's been up to in the next ACOTAR book. Yeah. That's another character that is bordering on missed opportunity.
Yeah.
I do still love the idea that she's a witch, and that the reason that Rhys tells Feyre that it's more he'll call in when the armies fail and Cassian and Azriel are both dead, which God forbid.
God forbid.
God forbid.
But please explain why.
But I would love it to be that she's capable of the yielding.
We touched on this in our House of Sky and Breath deep dive, but the Morrigan is often described as a trio of individuals, sisters, called the Three Morignia.
Sounds great.
I'm pretty sure it's Celtic, so I'm sorry I butchered that. It sounds a little like the three-faced goddess in Throne of Glass, and Mor's nails are described as iron at one point.
I want more for that character, even if she's secretly plotting to take back the Night Court.
Yeah, give her a little backbone.
Something.
Or Rhys is High King and she's put in charge of the court.
I know, like we've talked about before, really, if you want to talk about who's being set up as a queen, it's Nesta.
Yeah.
She's described so many times as a queen without a throne, and like her hair being in a crown. And
I mean, she literally went through the ordeal from Midgard.
She did.
She was fighting at Ramiel.
You know, I didn't think about that. That was definitely her ordeal.
She's done her part to train. And
in a nightie.
Training as a Valkyrie, she's doing all the things that a leader would need to do to be prepared to lead their people.
And she has
been
on
nightie, no less.
In a nightie. And she's been on both sides of like human and fae.
Yeah.
I think she'd be a really good leader.
I'm kind of excited.
Nesta for High Queen.
It probably won't happen, but like
or at least Queen of the Dust Court. Something.
Yeah.
Queen of
something.
Well,
because it won't be Bryce.
Well, exactly. And
Bryce
she does have
Midgard.
the 8-star bargain.
Yeah,
tattoo,
she was drawn with the harp. So she was able to access that in the same location. So there's a connection there too.
I'm having to do my shoulders up so this doesn't fall. And it makes me look like Uncle Fester in the Addams Family.
With no neck.
Sorry, go ahead.
Please don't be distracted. The Autumn King fills Bryce in on what she missed, the Asteri throwing Hunt, Ruhn, and Baxine in the dungeons and keeping the news of what happened contained.
They're so concerned about PR.
Well, they definitely don't need kind of rebellion brewing.
And it means that for 5 days, the Autumn King has known that his son is in the Asteri dungeons and he hasn't done anything. Like, he hasn't tried to get him out.
No, it means that when he said he's no son of mine, he actually meant it.
Mm-hmm.
Great guy.
Great guy. Sexy. Attractive.
Aren't they all?
I'd watch.
I think he was on the redemption arc was on your bingo card.
Yeah, my bingo card is real fucked.
Blown to shit. But thankfully, Ember, Randall, and Emil are okay.
Emil? I think you mean Cooper. He's Cooper.
Oh,
now.
I was just like, what? Yeah, you're right.
We don't recognize
Cooper's
Emil.
Salado.
Not in this household.
The question for a question game continues. Is the knife the one from the prophecy?
Yes, and her name is Truth Teller.
How did you get Truth Teller?
I stole it.
What's the status of Ophion?
No attacks, depleted numbers, basically like count them out.
What about everyone else?
R.I.P. Cormac. And I thought that Bryce knew that, kind of like I thought that Ruhn knew that. Like I thought that Rigulus said something in the throne room.
Well,
but I guess
we're
not.
in the throne room. Right? Because Bryce was already gone by then, and then Ruhn was in the dungeons.
No, because remember Rigulus lines them all up, and that's where she we don't know that her shackles have been unlocked, and she whispers something, and then we thought
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I really thought that Bryce knew, but I guess not, because she reacts. She's like, "I'm done for the day."
Oh, R.I.P. Cormac.
R.I.P.
I mean, there's a lot going on here, and Bryce has a purpose, but after hearing her mate and brother in the dungeons, I'm surprised that she stuck around the Autumn King's villa. But I mean, I guess she would have come back knowing that was the case. But still surprised she didn't push her agenda harder to get them out sooner.
Well, and I know that she can't just rush to the palace and she would get caught and then everything was, for nothing. But she also doesn't really have time to sulk in her bedroom because she's mad at her daddy. She's like, "I'm done for the day." But it's like, you need to, I know you're unhappy, but we don't have time. She was in Prythian for 5 days and now she's already wasted one back in Midgard.
Yeah.
Oh,
sorry.
I don't know. I'm not loving this little stopover.
Well, if it helps you feel better, there is a purpose behind all of it. She's not actually just being...
No, I know there's a purpose, but when she gives up on the day because she's mad at her dad, I'm like, we don't have time
I
for
need
this.
you to sulk a little faster, okay? Yeah. Got places to be. The chapter ends with Ithan entering the House of Flame and Shadow, which sounds like a sexy vampire club, and I would go.
Oh, House of Flame and Shadow is the coolest house. That is the cool kids club.
Obviously.
The other, like when he describes going down in there, and it's like, it reminded me of, you know what it reminded me of?
What?
Queen of the Damned.
Yes.
When they go, yeah.
Yes.
When they go in that one bar and it like has his music video playing, and then is it Akasha? Akasha walks in.
She like just gets mad.
And she has that like
the flames.
Well, she's doing that weird little dance.
She's doing
She
like
walks
shoulders.
in.
It's like a dance, like a sexy dance.
So that's how Ithan is walking in, I'm assuming.
As one does.
Ethan is going down the stairs and he walks right into a wall.
I mean, I expected a little bit more from a skilled sunball player.
Where is that athletic grace?
Bless his heart.
Although it's not actually a wall, it's a door. And one of the characters that we have missed the most, Jesiba, answers. One of the characters that we have been like, where the fuck
part
is
of
Jesiba?
One of our big plot lines or whatever. We need that.
And, well, I mean, and Fury, but next to Fury,
Jesiba's much
the
bigger,
one.
Plot than Fury.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to pick up next week with chapters 31 to 36.
Shit is getting really good now that we're back in Midgard. Like it's picking up and it's getting really exciting.
Yeah.
But I do want to answer a question someone sent us on TikTok because people actually are watching TikTok. Some people.
So exciting.
You know, I got a DM
Go see us.
that asked if we could bring back one SJM character from the dead and be like normal. They wouldn't be like a harpy or like a zombie.
Yeah, we don't care about her anyway.
Who we would bring back. So if you haven't read ACOTAR or Throne of Glass, I would skip this part, maybe end it now, and we'll see you next week. But who would you, if you could bring back one SJM character, who would it be?
Honestly, that's a hard one because I have like a whole list.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of go back to Throne of Glass, and
because she actually killed characters in Throne
yeah.
of Glass.
Well, like the 13, I know it's more than one person, but like, oh, that was so brutal when they died, and I know it was important, but like, can they come back?
Yeah,
I would love to see the 13 come back, or at least Astrid. I mean, Gavriel was kind of a pointless death.
That was my answer. Like when I first heard it, my gut reaction was Sam. I don't know why, but that character always made me so sad.
Yeah.
When I went back and read the prequel. And also in terms of devastation, I'm with you with the 13.
Well, like at the end of the series too, Nehemia. I mean,
I didn't really care about that.
Well, I don't care about her during the series. Like, we need Aelin to like pick up her own pieces.
Yeah.
But eventually somebody's got to rule Elway.
That's true. That's a good point.
Once she's back, it'd be great.
Well, so many of the characters, their deaths, they served a purpose. Like, not only in moving the storyline forward, but also in developing our character, like Aelin's journey. So much of it, the people that she lost.
Yeah. And same thing for Bryce.
Same thing for Bryce. Like, legally for Bryce, I loved Lily, but what happened had to happen for Bryce to get out. Yeah, but it's a Godslayer. Like, that, it couldn't have happened any other way.
Yeah.
So it served a purpose, but Gavriel is the death to me that did not serve a purpose.
Yeah, what was
his sacrifice was preventable and pointless.
I mean, it kind of gets through the Adian, but it's like after the fact, and now he doesn't have a chance to know his dad.
I know. Well, it was being set up of like, it seemed like it was finally going to happen. Like they were finally going to have a relationship and heal all of those wounds, and nothing.
Yeah. I mean, Lily, I think if we could do, like, if they could still live the plot line that they had to, but then come back, like Lily was very important, but if she could come back after all that, it would be so happy. Siri would be so happy.
Oh, Siri would be so happy.
I mean, of course, Bryce too, but still.
But her death still serves a purpose. Like, she's still
even with Sprite Queen.
Exactly. She kind of lives on, and like they needed her sacrifice to show Bryce being worthy of the Sprite's support, you know? Like, it was kind of like a Lily signed off on Bryce as like being worth it.
Well, it showed more about her character, and I get that. I just
But hers was the 13 probably were the saddest for me.
Yeah, the 13 killed me because they're, man and Manon is going into this new queendom, and she's got her family that she barely knows. But like the 13 were her people, from like the beginning. So I hate that they had to.
Unless they just teleported and they're in
They never got a chance to go back. That was the other thing. She's bringing them back to like, their homeland, and they never got to go. I'm gonna cry.
Okay, we're gonna go cry. Thank you for sending in the question. I love questions like that. So if you guys ever think of anything and want to send it to us on TikTok, Instagram, whatever, send it and we'll talk about it. And thank you guys. We'll see you next week.
See you guys next week.